I was boarding at Miss Annie's house. That's that house right next to the one there on Hamilton Avenue.
Are you taking that?
Yes.
I was boarding. I came into town with Cecil and Connie. They brought me up here from Greensboro. What am I sitting on? And she gave me a room. I helped her out in her. I was supposed to help her with the cleaning and all till I got a job. And she said I could have all the time I wanted to. They told me this. That she needed some help, and that I could get a job with her and stay with her. She had a room upstairs, and she run a boarding house. And so I had been there. I hadn't been there but 2 or 3 weeks at the most. And she told us one day, she had a daughter-in-law that was there. Was it her daughter-in-law? Why was she a widow? Anyway, it was a single woman. I can't remember the circumstances of singleness. But she was single, but she was a good bit older than I was. She was in her 30s, and I was 23. And so Miss Annie told us that on Sunday that she had a new boarder coming. Of course, we want to know all about him. She said he was a young man, and one first thing we want to know was he married. She didn't know. So Monday morning, that must have been Saturday. Sunday morning, we all was sitting at the breakfast table, and he was in there or came in, I don't know which, and sat down and started talking, and he was wide open. He was talking up a storm, and we found out we made a pact that if he was over 30, she got him. If he was under 30, I got him. So, and he just started talking to me right away. He could tell she was older than he was. And so naturally I got him. And he just started from there, and on Monday, when I came in, he was sitting on the porch waiting for me. And we talked every evening when I'd come in from work. He worked at night. He would get up early in the evening, and he'd sit down and wait, and we'd talk till he went to work at 11. We'd talk till 9 or 10, and then we'd go for a walk. We walked down there in a jukebox. He had a jukebox right down in the valley, that little low place. And we go down, he'd play the jukebox, and we'd sit there and listen to music. We would walk around the block. He didn't have a car, and I didn't have a car. And so we just did that for 3 weeks, and he wanted to get married. And I didn't say anything because I wasn't expecting that. And I didn't say it. He said, after I didn't answer him, he said, I was just teasing. I said, I figured you were. And he said, no, I was not teasing, I'm serious. So it went on from there. And he started asking me every time I'd see him, and he wanted to know when I was going to give him an answer.
Where were you working at the time?
S&S Cafeteria.
And what's that story about Irene?
Well, she was Miss Annie's niece. She was married, had been married, had 2 children. One of them was 10, 11 years old, and the other one was 6 or 7, 2 little girls. And she was a very attractive woman. She was a loose woman, too. And so he was dating her, too. When I found out, one night I heard a lot of commotion about 11 o'clock. So I asked this woman, this Miss Annie's daughter-in-law, who her and her husband lived there, and I asked her what was going on. And she said, well, Irene came by with somebody and said, they got Maureen and they went off somewhere. And I don't know, we might have been already engaged, I don't know.
I think you told me before you were.
I just don't remember.
Well, how long did it take before you told him yes?
I waited several weeks before I told him an answer. But he said, well, they came by and she said they got him out of bed. He had already gone to bed. And So, of course, I raised Cain about it, and I told her that I couldn't date two at the time. And, he promised he wouldn't date her anymore. But somehow or other, they was dating on the sly. And he told Tommy, and Lois warned him about it, and he said, well, why buy a cow when you can get free milk? And we and him was walking along, and I told him that the engagement, I reckon we were engaged. I told him I had moved down to 8th Avenue by then. I wasn't at the boarding house. I think I left there when he started dating Irene. I think that's when I left. He got a room with 2 more girls. And so when we had a date one night, he supposed to come, I think it was on Saturday night, and I had to work. I guess I got off at 8. And he wasn't there when I got there. When I got off, he wasn't there. And I went on to my room.
Did he have a car by now?
No.
But he was just gonna meet you there and walk you home?
Yeah, we'd get a bus, ride the bus. And so he wasn't there, and somebody asked me, said, where, one of my friends, one of the girls at work, I said, where was your boyfriend last night? Oh, I thought you said you had a date last night. I said, I did, but he didn't show up. And she said, well, he was out there. Said some woman come along and picked him up in a car, and they left together. And he had been there before I got off from work. Well, I went home and went to bed and told my rent lady if he came over there, not to let him in, not even let him in the house, that I didn't want to see him. He came and he out-talked her. She was going back and forth, wanting me to make a decision. I told him no, and he wouldn't accept it. So finally I said, well, tell him to come on back here. I wouldn't even get out of bed. I just stayed in bed. And so he came back and we fussed and fussed and fussed. And I told him I'd have to think about that. And so the next day, I reckon it was, when we were walking, I said something to him, and what was it he said? He made some remark, and I said, well, I just hate to, she had $500 in the bank. He found out she had some money in the bank, but she owed a bill that he had signed the bill for with her. And so he told them too, said Irene has $500, and they just laughed at him that bad. But they told me all about it. And I said, well, I just hate to see you sell yourself 80 for $500. I know who's been talking to you. I know who told you that. And we argued, and finally I gave him some time took some time to think about it. And we got it settled. I told him, I said, only way that I will make up with you again, I told him, take the ring off my finger. And I said, the only way I will forgive you is for you to move out of Miss Anna's house. And he said, I don't know where to go. I said, well, that's up to you. You find somebody, or I'm out. And so Lois, he talked Lois into letting him go move back in with her. And I took him back that way. But I think he was still going on. I don't think he was going on. I'm wondering if now if he didn't do it after we married. Because I stayed down there 2 weeks after he left. And then I found a letter in his pocket one day. Ms. Hubbard had separated from Mr. Hubbard, and she was staying with us. And we were walking down the street, and I had my hand in his pocket, and I felt a little note, piece of paper or something. I pulled it out, and he grabbed it and started we started scrambling over it. I found out it was a letter from her, and she was telling him where to meet him.